This is the media review segment of Insight. In the year 2000, world leaders gathered at the United Nations headquarters in New York and decided on some goals to help end poverty and a few other social problems. It was tagged the Millennium Development Goals. It was meant to last 15 years. Now, fast forward 15 years after 2015, many of these goals have not yet been met by many countries world over. And once again, these world leaders gathered at the United Nations headquarters and decided on what is called the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, or global goals. This time, another 15 years is expected to help attain all this. That is in the year 2030. How far has the media gone in educating the public about this? How much has the media followed this trend? I have with me the publisher of Fresh News Online, Desmond Utonwe, is going to talk to us about this. So, Desmond, thank you very much for taking time to come around.
Thank you very much, Sexy, for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
The SDGs is still pretty new. So, will you, in summary, give us a brief on what exactly the SDGs is about? Is it actually a follow-up on the MDGs?
Yeah, like in your opening remark, you made quite a good allusion to what the SDG is all about. Like you already know, the MDGs was there as a predecessor framework, and it had 8 goals, which was largely social. And those 8 goals attempted to reduce poverty, ensure that the nutrition was okay, ensure that there was good education up to the basic level. That's the primary and JS 1, 2, and 3, as it is in Nigeria. Also ensure that maternal health was promoted. We also have infant mortality and maternal mortality were reduced. Other health concerns too, like tuberculosis, HIV, AIDS, malaria, and immunization were taken seriously. Those are the areas that were largely covered. And in addition to that, was a partnership for it, because the UN believed that the states alone cannot do it. And so they also have to include partnership, whereby both the ordinary man on the streets, the private sector players, as well as the United Nations, international development donors, were all partners in this respect. Nigeria came into it in 2005 officially. They didn't take off.
2005, that's for the MDGs. Okay.
Yeah, they didn't start implementing almost immediately.
5 years after.
Yeah, 5 years after. So there was a delayed commencement on the part of Nigeria. And the commencement was also very good at the time it eventually started, because after the debt relief by Paris Club, the entire $1 billion, which would have been used for servicing of the debt that was forgiven us at that time under the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, was channeled into the implementation of the MDGs. It was called the Debt Relief Gain, DRG.
All right, let's fast forward to the SDGs. Yeah,
now we are in SDGs. But even at that, Nigeria was unable to attain all the goals, like the entire global community couldn't anyway. Okay. So, like you said, the global community came back to adopt a successor framework in the name of Sustainable Development Goal. All were encapsulated in the Agenda 2030 that was adopted in September 2015. Then officially it commenced implementation on January 1st, 2016, and will be like 2 years and about 6 months officially into the implementation of the SDGs. The SDGs is a successor framework to the MDGs and is expected to finish the unfinished business of the MDGs. Is global. It's not just a Nigerian thing.
Okay, it's a global thing. Yeah, because I know the office of the federal government has a Sustainable Development Goals office.
It's called the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals. It's a carryover office actually from.
Okay, I must admit to the fact that yes, these goals in some circles, some people know about it, but many of the public don't seem to know so much about this. Many people know about the MDGs. I mean, when you say SDGs, some people will correct you. No, MDGs. You have to now explain. No, it's SDGs. So, do you think, in my opinion, that the media hasn't done enough to educate the public that hey, we're moving on from the MDGs to the SDGs?
Okay, answering directly that the media has not done enough would be like an indictment on the media. I would not want to put it as such. I would say that the media still has a lot to do in terms of educating the public about what the SDGs is all about. You see, there is something that is general. It's not just about the SDGs. Development stories doesn't usually sell much in the media. If you look at it, both in the print and broadcast, not much of development stories are told in the headlines on a daily basis. If you have your news rundown now in this in your TV station, for example, you're most likely going to take the political stories, the corruption stories, the regulatory stories, and all of those before you now start going to the development stories. Maybe if it's a news hour of 1 hour, about 9:45, that's 45 minutes into the story before you start talking about the development issues. The same thing it is with the print. If you pick a cover story of the print, you're most likely going to see all the scandals, negative report, and all of those things. Yes, like they said, bad news sales. The development stories of, we have done this, the federal government has done this, the state government has done this, usually doesn't get prominence. You see it buried in page 56, page 49, and all those kind of pages. So the media generally doesn't see development story as what they should sell, apparently because it also doesn't give them so much commercial value to. Okay,
now I believe you insinuating, you are saying that the media, traditional print and online, should do a little more in educating the people.
Certainly.
Bring it a little more to the front burner.
Certainly.
The people in the other side, how much should the public key into? What exactly is the public supposed to do? Because you have followed this from the MDGs and now to the SDGs, so you've seen the trend. What would be your suggestion, your advice to the public, so that it's a two-way thing? It can't just be the government fighting and the people are not in sync. What would you advise?
Yeah, if we actually know what the SDGs entails, we will use it as a benchmark for measuring governance. And if we do that, the media will take SDGs to the front burner on a daily basis. Why am I saying this? Everything about governance, the essence of governance, of course, you know what the Constitution says about governance, is the protection of the life and security of the people. That is what governance is all about. And the SDGs talks about everything from poverty reduction, hunger reduction, basic education, quality education as it is called. 17 goals.
Do you think
health.
17 is realizable in this 15
years? It may not be realizable, but there must be a push for it. The point I was trying to make is this. Even up to fight against corruption is embedded in the SDGs. In Goal 16, for example, we are talking about building of peace, strong institution where there is justice. And you cannot talk about fighting anti-corruption without also linking it up with the SDGs. If you want to measure how much government has done in terms of giving development to the people, you also have to go to the SDGs. In Goal 1, for example, it talks about no poverty. In Goal 2, it talks about zero hunger. Goal 3, Goal 4, it talks about good health and well-being in Goal 3, and quality education in Goal 4. And it keeps going like that. Gender equality in Goal 5. In Goal 10, you're talking about reducing inequality across board, whereby the man in government and the man on the streets, they are made equal. And where there is equality and justice in society, we tend to do better as a people. So if you use the SDGs goals and the targets, we have about 169 targets, 232 indicators to measure the performance of governance, you realize that it will even gain more prominence and it will be better for everybody.
Okay, gradually we're running up now. So what would be your advice or suggestions to media houses, to government, to help improve on this? I know in the NTA, for instance, it's almost on a daily basis these SDGs issues are being discussed. So how would you advise the government, the government, private and public media to sync together to help tell the story?
Yeah, I think much attention should be given to the reportage of SDGs, as it were, because if you don't talk about the development of the people, you are doing a disservice to the same people. The SDGs is for everybody. It's not a government thing. It's not a Nigerian thing. All right? When you report the SDGs, you are not just talking about what the government is doing. The government is doing so much in that direction. In the last 2 years, they have been doing so much to ensure that advocacy was raised to the bar, to the extent that they even have a TV program that is running to educate the masses and everybody. So all of this are being done. But I think everybody must come together. All hands must be on deck to ensure that so much has been said about the SDGs. And the awareness will also help in terms of how we track the progress that is recorded.
All right, thank you very much, Desmond Utonwe, publisher, Fresh News Online. Thank you very much for taking us through some of these SDGs. I hope we'll bring you back here to talk a little more about these in another episode of the program.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The rest of Insight continues in just a moment.
We're good to go. CECIL.
All right, it's nice. We've educated ourselves and the public on how to sustain image and governance, and of course on the SDGs. And you know, the sustaining good image in governance, you have to be a very good public relations person. Okay. Public relations is very, very important. So that's why I always advise.
But some persons view that public relations is about propaganda all the time.
No, that is the thing. Public relations is big, it's wide, it's all encompassing. You need to really understand it and possibly belong to the institute to know more about how to manage image.
Okay.
And be a bit
if you are the head of an organization, always know that image management is cardinal and very, very critical to whatever you're doing. Funding it and that issue. If you don't fund it well, you'll always be there to react to the public. That has been that on Insight today. On behalf of all of us, what do you say?
Bye-bye.
Be our guest all the time. Bye-bye.